Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back to college football's week six of the college football season, and therefore week 6 of the Carla and Crappy Show. I'm Crappy, and hey, there's Carla. Hi, Carla.
Hey, sweltering in Nashville, Tennessee.
It's October.
It's October. It's October, and my thermometer, my outdoor thermometer. I was in my living room, and we're taping this in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And my thermometer said 96.
It's
October.
It's October. It's actually. I mean, it's not that hot in Pittsburgh, but it's sticky today, and I could probably turn on the air conditioning, but I'm gonna try to tough it out because it's October, and that's crap.
It is.
Need an air conditioning in October, but we are well into the college football season. We're at the point where I don't remember which week it is, and I have to ask Carla before we start each time. And
true story.
It is. This is how it works. But that means we're getting into some really, really good stuff. I probably enjoyed last weekend a little bit more than Carla did.
I did. Yeah, that's a true statement.
But let's take a look back at last weekend before we go forward. Carla, what's your one thing from week 5?
So I could make my one thing 4th and 5. And what the heck?
Perfectly justified. Justified to do that.
What the heck was that play call? I should be day drinking. I'm not. This is fizzy flavored water.
You should still be drinking.
Because it's noon, but I should be day drinking on a Wednesday because I'm still really, really angry about that call. Why do you take the ball out of McSorley's hands when he's the guy that's had the hot hand the entire stinking game?
He's the best guy on the field.
Yep.
Why do you take him out of that play?
No idea. That was an absolutely terrible play call. And then 2 timeouts to go with that. It was just a sad end to what was a really, really, really good football game. I would have liked that. I would have rather have had a McSorley incompletion or a McSorley keeper and come up short than what happened, which was such a poorly designed play that even almost before the ball was snapped, you could see that it wasn't going to work. As soon as he handed the ball off to Sanders, it was like, that was dumb. And it was dumb, which, like I said, I'm sorry because that was a heck of a football game. 2 other very quick notes in my one thing. First of all, cheers to my Blue Raiders who out-Kiffined the Fighting Kiffins and won on a 2-point conversion with 38 seconds left.
That's awesome.
As MTSU beat Florida Atlantic at home. And then actually something that I wanted to bring up on a much more somber note is Christian Abercrombie of Tennessee State, who is still hospitalized after his head injury, had emergency surgery. He collapsed on the sideline after the game. And the community here in Nashville, it's dominating Nashville headlines right now because that game happened here. Okay. Hang in there, Christian. We're pulling for you. It's great to see the support of the community again, bringing up head injuries. It was just a normal play. It wasn't anything, it was just a normal play. And he came off the field and said his head hurt. They were trying to get him into concussion protocol and he was walking down the sideline and he collapsed. And then that's when the emergency personnel took over and took him to the hospital, and he had emergency surgery Saturday night. So he's still in very critical condition in the hospital here in Nashville, but Christian Abercrombie, we're pulling for you. Hang in there, kiddo.
Yeah, absolutely. That is scary. It's always scary stuff, and you can't even get him to the point where they can start concussion protocol. And thanks. Yeah. I think the one thing that I was going to mention, this is a little bit has to do with what your first one thing was. In listening to James Franklin speak after that game, you can interpret this different ways. I took him to kind of the stuff about the state of the Penn State program. I kind of took that as something where he's putting responsibility on the players, and I know he sort of took blame for the play call and all that stuff. But the thing about great programs and elite programs, I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of difference between where Ohio State is right now and where Penn State is right now. I mean, if you look at the last 3 games, certainly they've been ridiculously close. I think all 3 years, those are the winners of the eventual Big Ten champion. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of they're great players on both sides, great fan base on both sides. Home game atmosphere is ridiculous in both places. If it was annoying to me to hear Franklin, what I interpreted to kind of poke at his players after that game, right after the stuff that you mentioned about how the game was managed at the end when Penn State had a chance to go on a drive and put some points up. I was yelling at the TV to not score too soon, and Penn State still had plenty of time. But I would hope that Coach Franklin would. I hope his intention wasn't to do that. I hope his intention wasn't to kind of put the blame on this for the players, because I think he deserves more of that. And it's on him, and it's on him and his coaching staff to get Penn State to the point where they win those games. And they do. I mean, they did when Ohio State was there 2 years ago. I would if they're going to get to whatever he feels an elite program is, that's on him rather than the guys on the field, because I know they're working their butts off. Before we begin with our what looks to be a tour of the state of Texas, we're gonna see what AJ has to say about Pac-12 After Dark this weekend. AJ, go.
Hey everybody, it's your buddy AJ, and it's week 6. And this is what I'm referring to as the week you will pine for in April. You don't care what the games are. You don't care who's playing or how bad or good the games will be. You just want to see regular football again. And this is a week you would take in April. This is not an actual week that you want to take in the middle of the season, because this week is rough. And I'm saying this as a fan of not terribly well-watched football. There's nothing good this week. I can't even try to make this up. I'm not even going to try and maneuver my brain into thinking that that's the thing. There's nothing on Friday night. Friday night there's Utah State and BYU. Don't watch that game. It's not going to be fun. It's just going to kind of plod itself along. If we go to the actual Pac-12 After Dark game, you've got a good, sort of okay Cal team. Let's go with a sort of okay Cal team. They're 3-1. That one loss was to Oregon last week, and Oregon really just shut the door on them at the end of the game. It was a good game. Like I said last week, that was the purity of Pac-12, and it was. I mean, there was just big, stupid offensive plays. Cal really did put up a good fight, but they just couldn't get it done. I will say that Brandon McElwain is an incredible quarterback to watch play. I mean, he's just fun to watch. Arizona, on the other hand, has no idea what to do with Khalil Tate. They tried. They really did try last week to get him going. They gave him 13 carries, which is more than he's had pretty much all season. It just didn't work. I really think either the magic is gone or everybody just knows that Khalil Tate is ready to run the football, and they're just locking in on him from doing that, and then he's not a terribly good passer. He went 16-33 for last week. It's just not there. The magic isn't there, and Sutherland doesn't really know what to do with him. So Arizona's 2-3, but they're at home. It's a 10 o'clock game. It's probably going to be fine. Cal is a 2.5-point favorite. It'll probably be fun to watch. Utah plays Stanford. If you ever want to watch a brick wall move at a concrete wall and then to see what happens when they touch, go watch that game. Over-under on that game is 46. Take that under. Utah has not looked good against decent teams this year. They got beat down by Washington, and then the next week got into a touch of a shootout with Washington State. Washington State ends up winning 28-24. Utah just doesn't look that good. They're certainly going to slow down what you do. Obviously, if you can hold Wazoo to 28 and you hold Washington to 21, like, you have a pretty solid defense, but that solid defense can only do so much when your offense is awful. Stanford got the brakes beaten off of it last week by Notre Dame and their suddenly competent offense. Just as a heads up, a little programming note. Everybody's going to be real high sometime in, early November on Notre Dame making the playoff, and we all just get to watch Notre Dame go to the playoff to get turned into cosmic space dust by Alabama. Right? We're all on the same board here? Good. This game is – Stanford's a 5-point favorite, but there's nothing in that game that I really want to watch, especially at 10:30 at night. But if you are up late and you would like some football that will put you to sleep because you're trying to go to bed early because, Sundays in the fall, Utah-Stanford will put you to bed. Don't worry about that. This has been your Pac-12 After Dark Report. I'm your buddy, AJ. See ya.
Sweet. Thanks, AJ. As I look at the schedule, we're spending an awful lot of time this weekend in the state of Texas, which it's like a whole other country. So
we're supposed to be excited about this?
There's good football down there. That's the thing, I guess. And we're gonna start. And this of course is one of the great rivalries. The game will start at noon in the old Cotton Bowl, not where the new Cotton Bowl is played, but the old Cotton Bowl for the Red River Rivalry. Number 19, Texas. I can't believe I just said that correctly on the first try.
On the first try. Well done. that might be a first in the history of the show.
I am not going to try to say it again even. Number 19, Texas versus number 7, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is favored by 8. What do you think?
So I think as much as we stumble over the name Red River Rivalry, I got it. Every year this becomes an ongoing joke as being the Elmer Fudd week. Here's the thing. We should actually call it the Red River Shootout again this year.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what this game is going to be.
Yes.
We got two teams with absolutely ridiculous offenses. Now, Texas has played really well after that loss to Maryland. They've declared that they're back. Last week, I will say that was hedged a bit. They won the game. They did what they needed to do. They broke a long losing streak in Little Manhattan. It was a nice win for the Longhorns, but they went out there, put up a bunch of points, then had to hold on in the second half. So that was the closest they've been in a while. And hey, Kansas State has had Texas's number for how many years now? So it was still a very nice win. Oklahoma has the number 8 scoring offense in the country. And Kyler Murray is just putting up absolutely ridiculous numbers. I mean, it's just absurd. Very similar to where we were last year with this Oklahoma team when we were kind of salivating over an offensive performance that could come out of these Sooners. Both teams like to throw the ball more than they like to run. They're both averaging more than 100 yards. More passing than rushing in total offense per game. So Red River Shootout this is going to be. So I had to go and look at defenses to see how this is actually going to look, which is always the most fun thing to do when you're talking about a shootout, is to go look at defensive numbers. Texas, here's the remarkable thing. Texas is the number 30 total defense in the country, and that's still actually the best defense that these Sooners have faced all season.
Okay.
Even at number 30. So that tells you that the Oklahoma offense has been putting up ridiculous numbers, but against subpar defensive performances. Oklahoma, on the other hand, is 91st in total defense. And they're giving up about 405 yards per game. So really what this boils down to is, can the Texas defense slow the Oklahoma offense enough to be able to keep up? That's where I think this game is going to be decided. And I'm not sure they can. I still trust the Oklahoma offense more than I trust the Texas offense to be able to keep up, even with as bad as that Oklahoma defense is. I'm going to give the edge in this game to Oklahoma, but man, I don't like that line at all. I think it's going to be a lot closer than that. I think this is going to be one of the best Red River rivalry games that we've seen in a long time.
You just threw the last one in there just to make
just because I could.
Because I'm not even going to try to say it. I'm not sure that the Longhorns are as back as some of their players claimed after the win over USC a couple weeks ago. But they've ripped off 4 straight wins. after an opening loss that really could bury a young team. That's the kind of thing that can fold a team, especially a young, inexperienced one like this, for the rest of the season. So the fact that they did not do that, they bounced back, I think is a really impressive. Credit Tom Herman, credit the guys on the field. Man, they're looking at a tough stretch. Starting this three of the four next 4 weekends, the OU, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia.
Wow. Yeah.
We're gonna see what Texas is about if they're back. I think there's some wins in there for Texas. I'm not sure that's going to happen this weekend, and it's sort of a little bit of what I was talking about with my one thing. Tom Herman's has not been there long. He's playing with the juniors and seniors on that club have been through some really rough years by the standard of Texas football.
Yeah.
Oklahoma. I mean, this is a tight game, and I think you're correct in that it will be. The team and the players that have been there before in their college football careers, that's often generally the team that wins, because they felt it. They felt that pressure. They know how to respond to it. Now, and I know you got to break through at some point. If you're a team that's on the rise, at some point you have to break through and do that, and that could happen. As I said, I think this is a tight game. But I think this weekend, Oklahoma's experience in that area actually is the thing that's going to make the difference. So I see the Sooners winning this one.
It's also one of the coolest atmospheres in all of college football.
Oh yeah. I love just like the line that's like dead down the center of the Cotton Bowl, and the orange on one side and the crimson on the other. Very cool. Very cool to
and it's fun. This game is relevant again. It hasn't been quite as relevant the last couple of years, and this is a big time football game. So
I read this is the first time since 2012 that both teams have been coming to the game in the top 20.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. Next up at 3:30 we have number 5 LSU at number 22 Florida. The LSU is favored by safety, basically. So it's going to be another slugfest. What do you think?
In the words of Monty Python, and now for something completely different. Right? This might be the antithesis of the game that we just discussed. In the Red River Shootout actually being a shootout,
yes.
and this game is not going to be a shootout. Here's the remarkable thing. I spent a lot of time looking at defenses this week. I don't know why. But we tend to think of LSU as having a really stout defense, and they do. The remarkable thing entering this game is that Florida statistically is actually a better defense than LSU, which is slightly, it kind of upsets the apple cart in the way that you think about the SEC. But and LSU's defense is actually, they're giving up a lot of yards, which is not a great thing, in most cases. Now, they've been able to make that up in most of their games this year. Here's the big question. Is that going to be a problem against Florida? Here's, the problem that we've been talking about Florida. Yes, they're riding high after a win at Mississippi State, which I think we got everything wrong last week except for West Virginia. So we both got this game wrong.
Yes.
And I didn't see Florida winning that game at all, but they pulled a rabbit out of a hat on one offensive play. It was a lateral down the field, scored the only touchdown of the game on a trick play. Florida relies on two things: its defense and turnover margin. Florida is number 3 in the country in turnover margin. They're +9 on the season, which is absurd at the 6-week mark. But we still don't know if Florida has an offense. We've said this for how many years now? This is at least 2.5 years that we've said, does Florida have an offense? They still haven't proven that they had an offense. They beat Tennessee on turnovers. They beat Mississippi State by playing the heck out of their defense and one trick play. So how this game is decided is, can Joe Burrow and the LSU offense flat out figure out what Florida is doing on defense? Because it's not going to be a high-scoring affair. And if LSU can score a couple of times, I don't think the Florida offense can keep up. So it really comes down to the LSU offense. Can you figure out that defense? I'm going to hedge my bet and say yes, they do, because I trust. I like what LSU has been doing on offense. I think they're going to figure out a way to score 3 more points than Florida in this game, even though the game is in the swamp.
Safety in
or safety, right? Because that's the margin. So I'm going to get. I think LSU pulls this one out, but this is going to be a chess match if there ever was a chess match.
I don't know if you saw this or not. Ohio State's last home game. And I think this was during the game. The OHIO cheer that goes around the stadium generally starts with the student section, and specifically with Block O, which is the coordinated student section in the open end of the stadium. And they didn't change the chant at all. It was still OHIO, but the student section, Block O, held up cards that said EAUX, as in the French pronunciation of O, and it was with a gold background in purple letters, which is very much a nod to Joe Burrow and what he has done at LSU so far. So Joe still has some support in Columbus, and I'm watching LSU when I have the opportunity to, because for that reason, and You look at defense at this game, and that's clearly the place to look, especially for the home team. You have to give Florida some consideration because they're playing in the swamp, and it's that's a tough place. But I like what the Gators, but as you said, they don't score. I'm looking at offenses, and LSU's offense, I think, is actually getting better. I joked around a lot at the outset of the season about what's LSU going to do with a decent quarterback. And they're moving the ball. Burrow last week against Ole Miss, nearly 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Something that he was not known for in Columbus, but he rushed for another 100 yards by himself, as they thumped Ole Miss, and I think that's the difference. If the defenses are equal, and pretty close that they are, I think LSU's offense, and it's kind of finding its stride right now, means that LSU wins a not especially pretty game, but at this point in the season, a win is a win, and I think that's what the Tigers do. This is not by special request, although one of our regular listeners who has one of his 12 postgraduate degrees from the University of Kentucky mentioned, why haven't we talked about a game with Kentucky yet? And here is the perfect opportunity, because at 7 p.m., number 13 Kentucky, number 13 Kentucky, I'm going to say that one, number 13 Kentucky, plays at Texas A&M. A&M, although they're unranked, is favored by 6. What do you think?
It's not basketball season. Number 13 Kentucky.
So weird.
It is weird, and there's so many storylines in this game. You've got the student teacher thing happening here, because Stoops was an assistant under Jimbo Fisher back in the day. So I love those kinds of back and forths that you see between coaches and mentors and how that all plays out. But there's a lot riding on this game. It's kind of a turning point for Texas A&M season. You look at their record and you're like, well, the Aggies really aren't that good, but you can't just look. This is where you can't just look at the record alone, because who are their losses to? Number 1, Alabama, and number 2, Clemson. And they were in both of those games, more so Clemson than Alabama. Alabama put it away late, but they hung with Alabama in that first half. And so this is a good Aggies team, and the record just doesn't show it. Here's the one question that you kind of have about Texas A&M, though, and that is the fact that so far the offense has been a little bit inconsistent. All you have to do is go back and look last week against can I say that Arkansas is bad? I mean, Arkansas is just a bad football team this year.
Arkansas is bad.
Yeah, Arkansas just not a good football team, and the Aggies did what they needed to do. They won the game, and that's all that matters. But it wasn't pretty. They only won it by a possession, a team that they should have put away more than just a 24-17 score. And Kelly Mond was just not as accurate as he needed to be with his balls down the field. with 2 interceptions, just not a great performance. Got the win, but not a great performance. You can't do that against this Kentucky team, which has a decent defense. Not super high ranked overall in the country, but they've played really, really well this year. And gosh, I love this Kentucky story so much. And Benny Snell has kind of become this like college football phenom.
Right.
And he's a good kid, and you like what he's doing, and he's got some punch behind him. But here's the problem: Benny Snell hasn't faced a rush defense like this. Texas A&M is number 6 in the country in rush defense. Odds are likely Snell is not going to be able to get going on Saturday, which means they're going to have to rely on the arm of Terry Wilson. And is that enough? Here's the benefit, though: the Texas A&M secondary is terrible. They're 109th in the country in pass defense, 109. So if Terry Wilson can actually figure out a way to get the Kentucky pass offense going without having the counter of the run game, because you have to figure that that's going to get bottled up pretty nicely against this good defense, that could be enough for Kentucky to win this football game, because they're being more consistent on offense than Texas A&M. So my heart tells me Kentucky's going to win this game, and Kentucky's going to keep moving forward. My gut tells me that Texas A&M wins this game because they're playing at home. Kyle Field is ridiculous. And this is a Kentucky team that's not used to being in this situation. This is going to be another close football game. But I think Texas A&M pulls it out.
Okay.
Sorry, Kentucky. I really want you to win this game. I am pulling for you. I am pulling against myself in this game because I really want you to win this.
It's such and this is so much fun. You referenced it, that the fact that a football team from Kentucky would be ranked number 13 in the country at this stage of the season is so unheard of. But you know, these are legit wins that they have. The 3 conference wins, so they're on pace with Georgia in the SEC East, which is another thing. It's just like,
Yeah, if they don't screw things up, they should finish second in the East.
Yeah. So, but this is we've already done our contender pretender thing for this season, but this is that week for Kentucky. I think this College Station is really tough place to play, and even though the Aggies are unranked, that's you mentioned their games against Alabama and especially against Clemson. The thing, if Kentucky is able to throw the ball enough that it loosens up A&M's run defense, that's going to help. I think, and you mentioned Benny Snell, and he is one of 2 player stories for Kentucky. The other guy is Josh Allen, and he's a force of nature in a conference where there are a lot of them. His stat line as a D lineman for Kentucky so far: 33 total tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 5 quarterback hurries, 2 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles. He's been the SEC Defensive Player of the Week 3 times so far this season, and we're only in week 6. So it's hard. That's a lot to put on the shoulders of 2 guys. And the offense, as you said, I don't think that has to. It doesn't have to be Benny Snell. In fact, it actually they got to be able to throw the ball to run it. If they can do that, and if Josh Allen has the kind of game that he's consistently had through this season so far, I'm gonna say Kentucky wins this game. Yeah. Sorry, I'm debating a little bit because again, the irrational part of my college football brain is like, and the rational part of my college football brain is tiny. It's like this. So I don't often listen to it, but it's going, are you sure about that? And I'm like, yes. Kentucky wins this game, continues its streak, 6-0. Kentucky, maybe in the top 10 next week. Who knows? And we finish up at 8 p.m. Where number 6 Notre Dame visits number 24. Virginia Tech. Notre Dame is favored by 6. What do you think?
So can I take everything that I just said about Texas A&M and just move it over to the conversation about Virginia Tech?
Sure.
Because that's exactly the same kind of situation that we're looking at here. Virginia Tech is the number 4 rush defense in the country, and they are 123 against the pass. for those of you not familiar with numbers, there's only 128 teams playing in the FBS level.
Right.
So they are 5th from the bottom against the pass, which is, so, I'm sitting here looking at all this and going, okay, Ian Book, let's see what you're made of. Because this game is going to come down to him and his pass offense. And let's be honest, he's been the difference in this Notre Dame team.
Yes.
The Notre Dame team that we saw at the first of the year that struggled to put away Michigan is a completely different team than the team that dominated Stanford last week. And it's simply because they change in the style of quarterbacks. Ian Book is much more of a traditional pro style passer that seems to be fitting better with the personnel that Notre Dame has. That offense has turned itself around. Let's see if it's real when you're going up against a really, really, really good rush defense. And you become, essentially, you're going to have to do the exact same thing that we just told Kentucky they're going to have to do. You're going to have to throw to loosen up the run. Let's see if that strategy works for Notre Dame. The one thing that Virginia Tech has going for it, Virginia Tech has not gotten off to the start, need I say, Old Dominion. The thing they have going for them is the fact they're playing this game at home. And, Lane Stadium is one of the top environments in college football. Enter Sandman and the whole bit. And, Blacksburg is fantastic. I love games in Blacksburg, and they'll be rocking for this game because they believe they have a chance to win. I'm not as optimistic on Virginia Tech on this one. They're still juggling personnel on offense. They're playing their backup quarterback. Ryan Wallace is probably going to get the start because Josh Jackson is hurt. That doesn't help matters. Everything in this game, I really want this game to be close. I want Virginia Tech to put a scare in Notre Dame because for those of us, as we talked last week, if Notre Dame doesn't lose soon, they're probably not going to. And I think Virginia Tech is one of the last chances for a team to beat Notre Dame this season. If you look at their schedule, maybe USC, depending on how, if they play up, they might, but somebody needs to beat Notre Dame. And I don't think it's going to be Virginia Tech. I think Notre Dame wins this game pretty easily in the second half.
Okay. I'm really tempted to start a new segment for the rest of the season on the Carla and Crappy Show. It'll be titled something like, "Oh God, would someone please beat Notre Dame already?" I will give Notre Dame credit, especially Brian Kelly, since he made the decision on switching from Brandon Wimbush to Ian Book. That was 2 weeks ago, I think. The offense has been looks much better, been much more efficient. You mentioned that the beatdown that they put on Stanford last weekend. That's a great example. Here's why. I mean, and you referenced this also. Here's why you take a hard look at this game. Notre Dame's only road test so far this year wasn't. Their only road game was at Wake Forest, and Notre Dame won 56-27, and what is not really an especially intimidating atmosphere. Blacksburg is an especially intimidating atmosphere, and for the first time that Notre Dame has faced something like this, playing it at night, The thing that I mentioned before about my rational college football brain and the rest of my college football brain is really struggling over this one too. And I'm going to, once again, not listen to my rational college football brain. I am hopeful, really hopeful that this is the weekend that someone plays, that someone knocks off Notre Dame. And as you look at the schedule, this is one of just a couple really solid possibilities for that happening for the rest of the season. So, Tech, win this game.
Beat Notre Dame already.
Please. Boys and girls, you can watch the Carla and Crappy Show for the duration of the college football season by searching Carla and Crappy Show on YouTube or on Facebook. If you prefer to have Carla and Crappy in your skull, you'll find the podcast version at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, as well as on your favorite social channels. If you like the show, please rate and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business. Any final thoughts?
Alabama plays Arkansas this week. Take the over.
What did we just say about our Arkansas a few minutes ago?
Arkansas is not a very good football team this year. How many points does Alabama put up in the first half?
My old buddy Bert did not do them well, and he continues to not do them well, even though he's long gone. Boys and girls, enjoy the college football this weekend. Carla, thank you.
Yep, thanks as always. I'll be parked on my couch for the Red River Rivalry. There, did it 3 times in a show. Woo!
I'm impressed. I'm actually going to a college football game. Going to watch Ohio State and Indiana. Maybe we'll talk about. Maybe that'll be my one thing next week when we come back. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you then.